Everyone, again, welcome to my presentation, Finding Clever, how to make a great game, and maybe win GMTK. So, why listen to me? My name is Zachary Richman. Hi. I'm an internationally awarded copywriter in the advertising industry. So, more or less, my job is to come up with big ideas for brands like BMO, Volkswagen, Audi, Chips Ahoy, a bunch of other brands. And I've been lucky enough to become awarded for it, which I'm very grateful for. But my job is essentially to come up with big ideas. I'm also the director of Jam Do Games and What the Games, which is two indie game studios within the GMTK community. And speaking of which, I'm a multi-time winner of the GMTK Game Jam. Now, I'm more or less assuming everyone here knows what GMTK is, but just in case there's the odd person, GMTK is one of the biggest ever online-only game jams with 5,000 to 6,000 entrants typically each year. You have 48 hours to make a game with a given theme, and it's a lot of fun. So that's who I am. And these are my GMTK games. So in 2020, we made Two Time in Towers, which ranked number 1. Maze of the Minotaur 2021 ranked number 5. And Die Munition 2022 ranked number 1. And the reason why I'm showing you these games is because we're going to come back to them throughout the presentation. So you could kind of see, so we could kind of unravel them together. You could kind of see how the process made these games. One quick note, I know the slide says my GMTK games, but of course I have to give credit to the teams I worked with on them. It was not a solo effort. It took a village for all of these, working with many talented devs, so they get just as much credit for these. They're all amazing. All right, so that said, here's why you shouldn't listen to me. Well, first and foremost, the point of a jam is not to win. Just making a game makes you a winner. And look, I know it sounds cliche, but look, 48 hours, you're making a thing. That's incredible. If you cross the finish line, you're a winner in my book. And that's what jams are all about at the end of the day. So the point of the jam is not to win. Don't worry about it too much. If you don't want to, just make something and have fun. Make the game you want to make. There's no type of game that you should make. I'm going to be talking about my process, and you'll probably see some similarities between the types of games that I typically make within my process. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's fun for you. Make the game that you want to make. There's no type of game you should be striving for. Do what makes you happy. All kinds of games win jams, including games that I can never make. Every year in the top 20, there's a few games I think to myself, how the hell did they think of that? That's so incredible. That's so clever. And who knows, maybe there's some people out there looking at my games being like, how the hell did they think of that? So creativity comes in many forms, and it can make something amazing, something that's really tied to you as an individual. So all kinds of games win jams. You don't have to make the types of games that I like to make. And finally, there is no magic formula to winning a jam. Jams are unpredictable. You can't know, at the end of the day, you can't know how they turn out. It's randomness, rankings and all of that. You never really know how it's going to play out. But with the right tools, the right building blocks, and the right process, you can make something amazing. At least that's what I think. So there's no magic formula with the winning. But with that said, here's my magic formula. 3 steps. 1, find clever. 2, make it cleverer. 3, make clever feel amazing. And today I'm going to be taking you through each of these and kind of breaking it down for you. Find clever. So, this one is all about concept is king. And what that means is that nothing is more important than the big idea. It's the heart of your game. It's the soul of your game. It's, the thing that draws people in. A bad idea with a great execution is still a bad idea. In the advertising industry, we call those golden turds. So I recommend not making golden turds. It doesn't matter if you have the prettiest graphics, the nicest music. If the core of the idea, if the big idea isn't good, it's not going to captivate people. Execution can only take you so far, but it's the big idea that makes people care. It's also your main selling point, when you're talking about your game. This is especially important for a jam like GMTK. We're constantly promoting, you're putting it on the Discord servers, all that stuff. What's your selling point? And your big idea ends up being that selling point and ends up helping with that promotion. But at the end of the day, if you want to stand out with your big idea, you got to make it clever. But what makes a clever big idea? What I think the answer to that question is simple enough to understand quickly. People can pick up the game, be like, oh, I understand what's going on here. Okay, cool. But unexpected enough to surprise the player. So, and that unexpectedness can come from the theme, the genre, a mechanic, so many different types of things. In other words, an unexpected take on something expected. What's the twist? That's something you can ask yourself. You start off with this thing that is approachable. Something that's simple, something that looks familiar to a player. Then you hit them with something unexpected, and that subverts your expectations. And what that ends up doing is it gives players an ooh, I get it moment. Also called a eureka moment or an aha moment. Personally, I like ooh, I get it because it's fun to say, but that's just me. So that kind of breaks down to this formula right here. Simple plus unexpected equals ooh, I get it. And let's break down this formula using my 3 GMTK games. So we got 2 Time and Towers here. The theme for this one was out of control, and our big idea, a tower defense where your towers are out of control, so they also attack you. It's a tower defense with friendly fire turned on. You can see in that GIF, you got the engineer, that's you. Your towers are killing enemies, sure, but they're also, attacking you, the player. We got Maze of the Minotaur, which the theme that year was Joined Together. The big idea, a platformer where you disconnect and rejoin the rooms of the level to create new and perilous paths. You can kind of see in this GIF, it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. It's a platformer, but there's puzzle elements as well. And it gets more and more complicated as you go. Then we got Die Munition. The theme for this one was Roll the Dice. And the big idea, it's a shooter platformer, like an arcade arena shooter kind of deal, where you use falling dice as your platforms and your source of ammunition. You can see in the GIF, your little guy, every time he shoots, one of the pips of the dice disappears. And once all the pips are gone, the platform disappears, leaving you vulnerable to the acid below. So I'm going to go to this next slide that doesn't have the GIFs repeating, but let's break these down. So 2 Time and Towers. What's simple about it? Well, it's a tower defense. We've all played a tower defense before. We've all been into cool math games. We've all been to addicting games. We've all played balloons. It's something that's simple, approachable, expected. But then when players jump in, they're hit with something unexpected. They're hit with the fact that you get hit, but they're hit with the fact that you get hit with your own bullets. Oh, okay. Something clicks in the player's head. Ah, okay. I see the challenge. I get it. Okay. Maze of the Minotaur. A platformer. We've all played Mario. We all know what platformers are. But in this platformer, the level is not straightforward. The level itself is a puzzle. Okay, you're taking the simple, the expected, and making it unexpected. And that creates this kind of interesting moment for the player. And Die Munition, we've all played an arcade game, you know, get the high score, kill as many enemies as possible, but most likely never one where your ammunition is intricately tied to the platforms you're standing on. You know, creating this interesting gameplay mechanic where you have to balance what you shoot and what you don't, saving a platform and using up bullets, gives players that moment of like, oh, okay, I see how things are connected. I see what's going on here. So in all these examples, simple plus unexpected gives them that, ooh, I get it moment, which ultimately is something that you want to make players experience. So, two-time towers. This one's really simple. You jump into the game, put down a tower, you hit start. At some point, you're going to get hit by your own bullet. And at that point, the player goes, oh, okay, I get it. They experienced that moment. You're not telling players that you get hit by their own bullets. Well, you probably are in the description of the game, but we're going to forget that for now. You're not telling them, but you're making them experience it. And that creates this like, this click in their head, this aha moment. Measure the mini tour. Clicking a room shift button for the first time in level 2 equals, ooh, I get it. And this was a very deliberate choice. Now, we could have made the main mechanic of the game show up in level 1 right away. But we talked about it and we're like, wait, but that's not good. That doesn't make it that, so we're subverting expectations. You know, we're just giving people the answer. We're just giving people what makes our game special right away. So we made level 1 straightforward. No unique mechanic, just move from left to right, get to the end of the level. But level 2, the buttons appear. You subverted their expectations. You hit them with something unexpected, and that gives them that moment that, ooh, I get it. Ammunition. This one's a doozy. Very proud of this one. So, shooting your gun and seeing the dice pips disappear. Oh, I get it. Okay, ooh. My ammo is tied to the platform. Cool. Seeing the dice platforms disappear once depleted. Oh, I get it. Okay, those two things connect. This is what's going on in their heads. Finally, seeing the acid rise up, creating something below that could kill you. Oh, now I really get it. You know, and that's a deliberate choice. The acid could have been there from the very beginning, but we made it hit harder. We made this moment hit harder for the player because the acid shows up once you've most likely already interacted with the main mechanic of the game, introducing the danger after you've been comfortable with the mechanic. So it's kind of a triple whammy for that one. So very proud of that. So how do you find your big idea, though? You know, we're talking about big ideas, yada, yada, yada. How do you get there? You gotta respect the brainstorm. So this is arguably the most important slide of this presentation. These are my brainstorming must-dos, the brainstorming Bible, if you will. And these are integral to creating an atmosphere with your team as you brainstorm that will facilitate great ideas. You know, you want to encourage great ideas. You can't just stumble upon them. Well, you can sometimes, but you want to make sure that the atmosphere is ripe for those ideas to come alive. So, and that happens by following these 5 steps. So, 1 is make it a safe space. You know, brainstorming has to be a judgment-free zone. You know, people get nervous in brainstorming spaces. They feel like they gotta prove themselves. They feel like they can only say something if it's like they know it's good. But that doesn't facilitate conversation. That doesn't make those big ideas come alive because you need to converse. You need to keep talking, bouncing ideas. So you have to encourage that by making it a safe space, ensuring that you and your team know that there's going to be no judgment here. Let's just talk. Let's just get it all out. Which kind of leads to number 2. If it's dumb or obvious, screw it. Say it anyways. Now, this is kind of that same type of idea. You need to keep the conversation going. So many great ideas come from dumb ideas. Imagine you throw out an idea, like, I know this is dumb, but blah, 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 blah. And suddenly that sparks something in a teammate of yours. He's like, oh, wait, that just made me think of this. What if we did it this way? And then suddenly, it's not a dumb idea. It's a brilliant idea. But you wouldn't have got there if you didn't say the dumb idea first. So, and that's only possible by doing step one, making it a safe space. No one's going to judge you for saying a dumb idea. Also say obvious ideas. It's important to get those ideas out on the table quickly. And, you can't only say the brilliant stuff that comes to your head, because then you're going to be waiting all day to say something. Just say the obvious stuff. Get it out. It's out in the world. Doesn't mean you guys are going to take it as your idea, but now it's verbalized. Now you can move past it and get somewhere more interesting, a little less obvious, a little more unexpected. Don't rush the process. This one is really important. So for 2 Time and Towers and Maze of the Minotaur, I'd say that we got to our idea maybe like an hour and a half into our brainstorming. But we didn't stop brainstorming until maybe 3 hours in, because you can't know if that's your best idea until you've spent enough time brainstorming. You can't rush the process. You got to give it the time to brew and to see what's going to be the best thing that you could pull out of this brainstorm. But on the other hand, Diminution, we struggled. We didn't come up with our idea until 6 hours into brainstorming, and it was rough. We felt defeated, but eventually we got there, and it was the right idea. And we wouldn't have got there if we didn't stick to the brainstorm. If we rushed the process, we would never have got to that idea. We would have stopped 3 hours in, picked a different idea, and most likely wouldn't have placed it in first that year. So you can't rush the process. Tackle the theme from a million angles. This one's pretty self-explanatory, because almost every jam will say this too as they promote themselves. Themes are very open to interpretation. So what's a crazy, weird way of interpreting the theme? What's an obvious way of interpreting a theme, but it's suddenly spun in its head in a weird way? Look at it from every possible angle. What does that theme look like in a platformer? What does that theme look like in a tower defense? Who knows? Maybe you're doing a literal interpretation of the theme. Maybe you're doing an abstract interpretation of the theme. Just go nuts with it. Try a bunch of different angles, see what sticks. And finally, ask yourself if the idea is unique. If you want to stand out in a jam like GMTK, you need to ensure that your idea is unique. Of course, there's no way to actually know for a fact that no one else came up with the same idea you did, but you can ask yourself some questions and kind of use a gut check to see if you think someone could have come up with it. It's like, can I see someone else doing this idea? Will this be a common idea in the jam? Is this too easy of an idea to come up with? By just asking yourself these questions and forcing yourself to have that dialogue, you start to kind of unravel, okay, is this a really unique idea, or is this something that 20 other teams is going to do? In which case, we got to be the best out of those 20 teams, rather than just being the best at the one amazing idea that no one else came up with. And this one's a harder challenge. So those are the brainstorming must-dos, super important. Just do it. Just Nike it. All right. Number 2, make it cleverer. That's just a fun word to say. So here is a quote from Mark Brown from GMTK talking about Diminution in the winners video from last year. You can see why they're winners. They just know how to squeeze the most out of an idea in 48 hours. And that's what making it cleverer is all about. Squeezing the most out of an idea. And what that boils down to is smaller ideas that complement your big idea. So
the goal is to push your big idea to the limit. Really, really dive into it. Another way of saying that, explore your big idea to the fullest extent. Pull out every little bit of that idea to make it as big and as awesome as possible. Because small ideas make your big idea bigger. They enhance the experience as long as they complement the big idea. Ultimately, this makes clever cleverer. See, it's fun to say, guys. I promise. And it's important to remember these smaller ideas can come at any point in the process. That said, it's super important that once you decide what your big idea is, that you right then and there start brainstorming the smaller ideas that complement it. Like, really explore that big idea and kind of iron out what those complementary ideas are. But also keep in mind that you're going to find these just through the design process. So many times there have been times where a programmer will just stumble onto something as they're coding and like, that was a mistake, but that's really cool. That actually complements the game a lot. That makes it more fun, So it's important to hit these right away, come up with these right away, but keep an eye out. You may find something unexpected as you actually design. So we're going to go back to the 3. We got 2 diamond towers, the big idea, a tower defense with friendly fire. The complementary ideas. Pickups disappear over time. Oh, okay. Pickups disappear over time. So now I got to put myself in danger to go pick up currency or go pick up some hearts. Creates an interesting moment for the player. Enhances that big idea. Okay. Towers with different shooting patterns. Some towers are going to be easier to dodge the bullets, but you're going to kill less enemies. Some are going to kill a bunch of enemies, but you're putting yourself in more danger. It creates an interesting moment for the players. Where do I spend my currency? And that enhances that big idea. Blockades that protect you. Of course, a tower defense with friendly fire, we should probably have something that players can invest money in to protect themselves. Boom. Makes that big idea bigger. Pushable enemies. This was actually one. This is an example of something we stumbled upon. This was not originally a complementary idea, but through the design process, enemies just started not hurting you, and we're like, oh, that's actually more fun. Your towers are already going to be hurting you as they kill enemies. Why do the enemies have to hurt you too? That just makes the game stupid hard. So you can push enemies. It's what kind of game can you just push the enemies like that? Especially a tower defense. It's small, but it complements that big idea and makes it more fun. Makes that big idea bigger. Maze of the Minotaur. Platformer where you move rooms and make new paths. Complementary ideas. Enemies you avoid or kill by moving rooms. Okay, you're already moving rooms to unravel this level, this puzzle. Oh, by moving a room, I can make this enemy fall into spikes. Okay, cool. There's more utility to these room movements now. Keys that unlock the exit. You're no longer going from point A to point B. You're going from point A to point B to point C. Adding extra layers and extra challenges to levels. Rooms with different properties. We had this one room where if you ended in it as you moved, you would instantly die. Okay, that's a unique type of room in a game that's all about moving rooms. So you can kind of see already how all of these complement that big idea, make it bigger, make it feel fuller, and thus more thought out and more exciting for the player. Ammunition. Big idea, use falling dice as your platforms and source ammunition. Complementary ideas, enemy bullets keep you moving. A bit of an obvious one, but it works. If your platforms are resources that you're keeping track of, enemies are going to be moving you around, so you'll be forced to go over here and use up the bullets in this platform. Crap, now I don't have a safe place over here. It creates these interesting moments in the game. Dice with heavy artillery. Hey, we got dice with bullets. Why not nukes? Why not rockets? Hell yeah. Dice with health that you shoot. This is probably my favorite one, honestly. It's like pure dual purpose design, which if anyone watches GMTK videos, I'm sure you've heard that term. But no, instead of enemies dropping health, the dice falling from the sky, the dice platforms could be a health one. So instead of you go on top of it and you click the shoot button, but you don't shoot a bullet, you take the health. You don't have to hit a different button to get a health. You just hit the shoot button. Dual purpose design. The one control gives you health as well as kills enemies. To me, that just I love it. I know I'm gushing over my own game, but we should all gush over our own games. That's you got to make something you love. So I'm not gonna apologize for gushing. We should all gush. Enemies that destroy dice. Okay, all your bullets are stored in these platforms. What if an enemy takes away 6 of your bullets? That's scary. Complements that big idea. Shooting a dice locks in its value. This was a more I'll say this was a more complicated one. You shoot a dice when it's in the sky, it locks in its value and drops down. So if it's on a 6, you shoot it, drops down. It doesn't just keep spinning and spinning and spinning. But maybe not the most necessary idea, but it's a small idea that you don't even have to interact with as a player to have fun in the game. It's kind of an idea that you kind of discover by accidentally shooting a dice in the sky. And that makes it kind of this nice thing to discover and kind of makes like the skill cap, the skill ceiling a little higher, but it also complements the big idea. It utilizes that dice that's falling from the sky. And you're trying to ensure you have more bullets and less. So in all these examples, you can really see how these smaller ideas were very deliberate. And they were chosen to make that big idea truly shine. You're squeezing the most out of that big idea. Because the big idea alone isn't always enough. But remember, less is more. This is important too. Because you can't add too many small ideas. For a player, complicated is not fun. If your game feels complicated when players first jump into it, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to feel simple, which remember is part of that formula. Simple plus unexpected. If it's not, at least for this particular process, for my process, if you don't start with that simple, you can't subvert anything. So if it's too complicated right off the bat, I think you miss that opportunity to give players that, oh, I get it moment. A game should feel simple, though, even if it isn't. And what that boils down to is, like, obviously you are adding a bunch of ideas, but just because you're adding smaller ideas doesn't mean it should make your game feel more complicated. It can still feel simple, and that's achieved if the smaller ideas you're adding fit seamlessly into the big idea. If a smaller idea feels forced, it probably is. In the ad biz, we call this killing your babies. When you have to say goodbye to an idea that's really good but just doesn't fit. I gotta kill my baby. Bit of a morbid expression, but hey, that's the ad biz for you, I guess. So don't force in ideas. You could try. Maybe you have an idea and maybe it doesn't quite fit, but you could find a way to make it make more sense. Sure, it's not impossible, but at the end of the day, if it feels forced in, you'll know. And players will know. They'll see it doesn't really mesh. The game will start feeling more complicated than it needs to. So don't be afraid to kill your babies. And remember, you only have 48 hours, at least for the GMTK Game Jam. We've had to kill so many smaller ideas because we ran out of time. If we had another day, we probably would have added a bunch of more different rooms to Maze of the Minotaur. There was a really cool idea for Maze of the Minotaur, which we cut. And it was coded and everything, but we just didn't have enough time to create an experience that utilized it really, really, really effectively for the player. So we killed it because you only have 48 hours. So you got less is more. Remember, less is more. And don't lose sight of that when you're adding your smaller ideas. And that makes your full game design. You got your big idea, you got your small ideas, full game design. As the director of my teams, I'll typically write up a design kind of outline in Discord chat. Just here's our big idea, here's all the small ideas that complement it, blah, 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 blah. Here's how this comes to life, here's how this comes to life. And that Those two things, big ideas, small ideas, that's your game design. That's what you follow. That's your map to create your amazing game. Which takes us to number 3. Make clever feel amazing. Concept is king, but it's not everything. And what that boils down to is a game is only as good as its big idea, but now you have to sell the idea through the execution. Essentially, your idea is amazing, and make it feel amazing. Make it an amazing experience for the player. So, what can feel amazing? A whole bunch of things. Art, music, SFX. Those are really obvious, but level design is hard to feel amazing. Level design is really tough to do, but if you nail it, hell yeah, it's going to feel amazing. UI, juice and polish, that's a really big one. Because, the small things really do add up. Controls can feel amazing. I just think back to Die Munition, where getting health was the same button as shooting a gun. That's a control decision. That felt amazing. So even things like that. The writing, whether it's the name of the game, maybe you have dialogue in your game, but the descriptions on the itch page, the itch page itself, this is the first place that people will be interacting with your game, just visually, as they kind of see what the game's all about. It's a perfect opportunity to start selling, to start that execution before they even enter the game, which gets people more on board with your big idea sooner. So this slide, I more or less just talk about my favorite parts of the execution for each of my 3 games. It's a little bit of me gushing. There's a million things, a million top parts of the execution for all of these games, but these are my favorites, and maybe this will inspire, things that you could add to your game in terms of execution. So 2 Time of Towers. It's got cute-ass pixel art. The tower animations bopping up and down, add some fun, add some levity. The music is intense. It gets you in the moment, gets you in the mood to dodge bullets and defy death. Hell yeah. SFX for picking up currency. Mwah. It just, so juicy. It just feels so good to hear that sound. I love it. Even small things. A shine on a start button, It's one of the smallest things you could do, but it feels right. And that feeling, people, internalize. They feel it. Screen shake for taking damage. Gotta have that. The names of the towers. We had a lot of fun with those, like Octoshot, Quadshot, etc. The map design, the game name. I'm a big fan of alliteration, as you may have already noticed with these game names, but 2 Time of Towers, big fan of that name. Maze of the Minotaur, our main menu. You come in right away, the music hits, the logo looks amazing, the backdrop looks amazing, the buttons are super hella detailed. Love it. The detailed background art, as I already kind of said. It's beautiful. Moving the rooms, the SFX, the screen shake, the particle effects as you do that. Moving your rooms is the most important part of the game. So the execution of that has got to be tight. And I like to think we made it tight. It really feels impactful when you move a room. Smart level design. Shout out to Kira, who's in the audience, for her incredible level design. She killed it that year. Greek-inspired music just fits the theme. We made a playable end screen. We didn't have to do that, but it's fun for the players, a good thing to end off on, a fun way of executing. And the game name, Maze of the Minotaur, I'm a fan. The itch page had all these GIFs, had all these torches, awesome background. As I said, great opportunity to make that first impression really count when it comes to, getting people excited to play your game. And finally, with Die Munition, we have freaky, intense music, just really fits the vibe of the game, really exciting, really amps up the player. Acid raises up only when the beat drops. It feels good, like the beat drops and boom, this danger arises. We didn't have to do that, but that little small thing just adds so much flavor. Spinning dice animation looks amazing. The dice pips on the dice are bullets. SFX of dice landing feels really powerful. The 3D screen transition, tons of juice, the game name, and the itch page. So again, at this point, I'm just gushing about all the things about the game that I love, but that's what execution is all about. It's about these things that are maybe a little more superficial, depending on who you ask. Like, it's not the core of the game. It's like the stuff outside of that big idea. But it's the stuff that pulls people in. It's the stuff that gets people excited right off the bat. If someone sees cute pixel art and they love cute pixel art, they're going to be excited to play your game, and thus they're going to be excited to interact with your big idea. If people love a good jam, some good music, if you got a good bop going on when people first enter your main menu, you know that Twitch streamer you're watching play your game is going to be like, oh, yeah, this is sick, you know? That's what people notice first. Actually, that's exactly what my next slide is. The execution will be the first thing players notice. It's what reels them in. It's what gets them excited to check it out. But once they check it out, the big idea is what will win them over. So this is kind of how I see it in my head. You know, you got the outer layer, that's the execution. That's the coat of paint. That's the thing that people first see. But then in the middle, you got the big idea. That's the heart right there. Both are important, but the heart is what gets players to care. All right, we're wrapping up here, people. In conclusion, find clever. Concept is king. What's that big idea that gets you excited? What's that big idea that has that twist that's going to get your game famous? That's going to get people talking about your game. That's going to encapsulate them and make them want more and have them coming back. You know, finding that clever big idea through the brainstorm process, putting energy and dedication into that brainstorm, even when it feels like all hope is lost and you got nothing but shitty ideas. Sticking to it, making that atmosphere judgment-free, and just doing everything you can to find that golden nugget that you're going to fall in love with. Make it cleverer. Push your idea to the limit. Explore it. Come up with all these peripheral ideas, complementary ideas that make your big idea truly shine. That make your big idea stand out even more. You're selling your big idea by squeezing the most out of it. Make people really fall in love with it. And every single decision you make here is deliberate. It complements the game. It fits with the game. It doesn't feel forced. And with that, your big idea can truly shine. Make clever feel amazing. Concept is king, but execution sells that concept initially. Make the game feel amazing. Make me love the art. Make me love the music. Make me love the vibe. And then suddenly, oh, I want to enjoy that vibe. And now I'm interacting. Because I wanted the vibe, I interacted with the big idea at the heart of your game, and boom, I'm in. I'm reeled in. I love your game because the big idea is amazing. But the awesome art is what got me here. It's what got me through the door, you know? It enhances that overall experience. It makes your game feel amazing. And just like that, you have a great game. Thank you.